everyone. What I was going to talk about really was my experiences of the last 20 or so years of being in technology, both in and out of the financial marketplace, where technology has been sort of a core driver of everything I've done in my career, and also in how the world has moved on since, for the last forever that we know, everyone now has phones in their pockets that were more powerful than what companies used to run their entire businesses on 20 years ago. What I had was a slide that had a picture of a roller coaster up there, and the reason I thought of that was last week I was in Holland with my family, and I was at a theme park where I was in the queue over and over again for this crazy roller coaster that my 8-year-old son wanted to go on over and over again. But while I was standing there in the long queues and watching this amazing machine go and hurl people around, up and down, and round and round, I couldn't help but draw parallels between my experiences over the last 20-odd years, and especially now as being in a startup, founding a startup, it seems like a roller coaster ride on a daily basis for different reasons. Now, when I first embarked on a journey that you guys might be looking at right now, what am I going to be doing, what I wanted to do, it was quite clear for me that I wanted to be writing software. Where I was going to be writing software, I don't know. And I just wanted to write code. I wanted to, I was optimistic. I wanted to make the world a better place, etc. And during the 90s, while I was at university, there was a sudden euphoria around technology, and it was kind of growing, especially in the States, where the internet was fueling a whole new band of companies and success stories. And by the time we came to get jobs in London, it was mostly about consulting firms or the investment banks in the city in Canary Wharf. And while I did internships there and enjoyed the experience of working in a bank, the lure of America and all those new startups and that were, really bringing the house down over there was exciting enough that I went over there. And that's where I started, really started writing software and shipping software and so on. And that was in 2000. In January 2000 is when I sort of landed in America, full of optimism and hope and all that. That'll only last 3 months, because in March of 2000, I don't know whether you guys have knowledge of that, the tech boom that had taken place in the 90s came crashing down in March 2000. The company that I worked for was a darling at Wall Street at the time. Exponential growth, skyrocketing its share price, millionaires being formed every day on their stock options. And overnight, their share price went from over $300 down to $6. It took a few days, overnight, I think, to 80 and then 6. And suddenly, all these people who got mortgages and boats and houses on the back of these stock options, nothing, worthless paper. But what was really clear for me at that point was, wow, we're writing software, it's real software, it's solving problems, but there's a whole marketplace investing in companies that turned out to be vaporware. So in technology, there's a lot of, fundamental problems that are being solved, but also a lot of great ideas and stuff that has the potential to solve all the problems, but is still far away. And what it made clear for me was the marketplace, which is the stock market and people investing, and what's actually going on in the world of software development were two very different things. You could be solving problems here, but your stock price is determined by someone completely different. And I spent a number of years in the States, writing software, enjoying my time over there, but it was time to come back here. And in London, it was still the case that financial markets was where the most interesting technical challenges were being solved. And so I was lucky. I ended up in a small investment bank that allowed me to experience a lot of different areas of technology within a bank. Now, I should have said earlier that I always had a goal of working for small companies rather than large, because I wanted to learn lots from a small number of people and have more of an impact. Whatever I did, I wanted to have a good amount of impact. So smaller companies seemed more suited to my to my way of doing things and experiences. So this investment bank was built, prided itself in software, and I wanted to write software. So it was a good match, and we spent a number of years innovating. Now, earlier you heard that there's not really been that much innovation in the world of financial products. But what was going on for the last 15, 20 years has been that products have been taken and melded together and changed and retraded. And that form of innovation, new products being put together, was taking the world of derivatives to new heights. And that requires a lot of technology, and that's the world that I was operating in. Writing trading systems, writing them to be faster, more effective, taking in more inputs, producing more outputs for the traders to make decisions faster, eventually to generate more P&L. And throughout the time in the 2000s, it was all about how fast. There was an arms race at technology-driven banks where how could you develop and produce faster software and more robust software that would allow traders to make more money in the markets. Now, again, unknowingly, I was inside another bubble. You don't realize bubbles burst till it bursts, right? And so this was going on. We were building more software. The business was growing. The markets were flourishing. And we were very heavily into credit derivatives. You heard about a little bit earlier. And a few years ago, the phrase, oh, property prices are never going to go down, right? They're going to keep going up. And we were writing the software that was creating credit derivatives and trading them, and required a lot of software to be written by very, very well experienced traders, software developers, and innovative thinking. But you get carried away, the market got carried away, and another crash took place. September 2008. September 15th, I think it was. Anyone know that date? Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. That morning when I walked into the office, I knew that there'd been things going on in the States around Lehman Brothers. And my phone rang. It was the head of risk asking, are all the systems working? Was that any problems with the systems? Because we've got to send out our exposure to Lehman. I checked, everything was fine, told him. A few minutes later, there was a press release with our firm's exposure to Lehman. I didn't think too much of that, apart from the fact that this was quite real. A number for my system was now in the press. It just made that a bit more real. Normally, these numbers are just circulated internally. What we didn't realize at that time was most firms in the city were not able to do that. It took weeks, if not months, or years for some to figure out how much was their exposure to a company like Lehman. Why was that? And if thinking about it now, it was about the investment in technology, continuous investment in technology and people that this bank had, and the way we'd built our software to answer the business questions in a way that was easy for them to answer for themselves, and allowing us to innovate in technology continuously and thinking ahead. Now, the same technology and the marketplace changed its use. Now, as I said earlier, it was all about making money. From that point onwards, all eyes were from the regulators, from the market participants, from the press. Everyone was about how much money is the banking sector going to lose now. And it was about battening down the hatches and saving keeping the businesses going. And we had to write more software and more analysis and more technology, really, to answer the regulatory questions. You've heard Basel, you've heard other MiFID II. All of these regulations are piling up to improve the situation that banking has found itself in. And banks are no longer operating the same sort of euphoria that they were 10 years ago. Now it's more about just existing and complying with the regulations, and that takes a lot of computational power and analysis to keep those banks afloat and going. Now, while all this is happening, all the focus on trying to make your lives and our lives better, and from a banking perspective, is given back to a new brand of technology, fintech, which is moving up. And now I've experienced two crashes, one purely technical, one financial, but technology has continuously moved us forward, and when we are flexible enough to to adapt to that advance in technology, you use that technology to solve the problems that we have. So right now, my firm is about building technology to help risk management at firms, to comply with the complex technological requirements of new regulations. There's a huge number of fintech firms taking on the mantle of improving the financial experience of consumers. Banks are busy, trying to just exist, evolving their systems and complying with regulation, but all of us want phone apps that we can transfer money or buy things and sell things and manage your bank account, but you want that on your phone. And banks are struggling to keep up with that as well as all the stuff that's going on. So there's a lot going on out there apart from just banking that you guys should be considering, which is, you've heard about buy side, sell side from a banking perspective in investment banking, capital markets, but there's a whole host of available kind of opportunity in innovating for taking sort of the financial world into the next stage, which is, answering problems that each of us have on a day-to-day basis, but also evolving the archaic systems and processes that banks are operating on right now. So I'm still writing software and enjoying doing that, and would encourage people who are interested in technology that it's not just coders who solve these problems, it's a mixture of people who understand how to solve problems and applying technology to aid that solution faster and better. So it takes both types to make that progress. That's really all I had to say.